Hi, Aries, and welcome to your January 2024 horoscope. Congrats on the new year. You've made it. January is an interesting month because Pluto is entering a new sign and a new house. We're going to get into what this means specifically for you. But January is also an interesting month because we have Jupiter and Saturn in a sextile pretty much the whole month. And because Jupiter and Saturn are in an earth and a water sign, I do think that January is going to be quite grounded in the physical side of life, grounded in what it means to be human, the fact that we have to pay our bills, and the fact that we have emotions and relationships with other human beings. So all of that being said, let's jump into January and see what's ahead. On January 1st, you have Venus in your 9th house squaring Saturn in your 12th house. You've been really valuing your education and expanding your horizons lately. Perhaps you've been going on some holidays, or perhaps you've started a new educational program. But at the same time, with Saturn in your 12th house, you are being asked to buckle down and also work on your internal landscape. And these two may be at odds with each other on January 1st. It might feel like they're pulling you in opposite directions and asking for you to spend time and give them attention. It's possible that you can find the balance and integrate both. On January 4th, Mars enters Capricorn, and Capricorn is your 10th house. So January is going to be quite a bit career focused for you. And with Mars transiting there, you might find that you are quite expressive in your career, setting your boundaries, and also just being a little bit more of a fighter spirit when it comes to your career. On January 11th, we also have a new moon in Capricorn in your 10th house. And what's interesting about this new moon is the conversation between Mars, Saturn, and Uranus. And Mars is in your 10th house, Saturn in your 12th, and Uranus in your 2nd. They're both somewhat pleasant aspects. So Venus and Saturn are sextiling, Saturn and Jupiter are also sextiling, and Venus and Jupiter are trining. If there is something new that you want to start in your career, January 11th is a great time to do so. What is also special about this new moon is that Pluto is nearby. Even though it's not very close by degree, it's about 9 degrees away, it is still in the sign of Capricorn. And from this new moon onwards, the sun is moving closer and closer to Pluto. And just a couple of days later, they will be really conjunct. But I would say that this new moon still has that sort of Plutonian power or influence attached to it. We'll get a little bit more into the Plutonian story later. However, wherever we see Pluto, it's about finding our power and our purpose. So I can imagine that this is an amazing time to really shift what you're doing in your career so that you find more purpose and meaning with what you do. For you specifically, the houses that are part of this conversation are the 10th house, the 12th house, and the 2nd. This is because we have Mars, Saturn, and Jupiter in those houses respectively. Seeing these 3 houses in conversation, we are looking at really going beyond any beliefs that you have about your self-worth that are limiting in your career. What do you believe about yourself and the way you show up in the world that are stopping you from expressing your full power in your career? Because these are softer aspects, I mentioned earlier, they're sextiles and a trine, it might not be as heavy as you might think it would be. It might be a subtle nudge or a subtle piece of information that's shared with you about the direction you could take or about what's really limiting you. So be very attentive during this new moon to make sure you don't miss it. On January 14th, Venus is sextiling the South Node. The South Node has been in your 7th house since November 2023. This conversation between Venus and the nodes could manifest as something that you're learning with your travels or with the studies that you're doing that is revealing a piece of information about your relationships. Perhaps you learn something about a different culture that opens up your eyes on a different take of how you can deal with your relationships, or maybe you meet a new type of person with a different sort of culture or view of the world that really also changes your perception of your close relationships. Venus continues to move through your 9th house, and on the 19th, it squares Neptune in your 12th house. Because this is a square with Neptune, it might be more of a challenging aspect where you are susceptible to fall to delusions or to be misled by somebody or something. It could be that one of the belief systems that you're exposing to, or the new ways of life that you're learning about, the people that you're learning from in your travels, make you want to give up all touch with reality, make you want to escape to a place where everything is always nice and new and pleasant. So just be on the lookout that whatever you are doing on this day, that you're extra skeptical of. And now we're there. We are at the Pluto and Sun conjunction. So this big event is happening on January 20th. And even though the Sun and Pluto are conjunct at 29 degrees of Capricorn, they'll be quite close as they move into Aquarius. So just the day later, on the 21st, the Sun will move into Aquarius, and right closely after, Pluto enters Aquarius as well. So let's break this one down because a lot of stuff is happening. First of all, the Sun is entering a new house for you. It's entering your 11th house. So you might be starting a whole new focus for the next month on your long-term goals. Especially you're thinking about your network and the people that are there to support you with your goals. It might feel easier during this month to meet people that are actually quite beneficial to where you want to go. And now let's address Pluto and the fact that Pluto will be entering your 11th house. This is about a 20-year period. Pluto will be in your 11th house for 20 years. So it's a long one. It's not going to be intense for all of it unless there's any personal planets that it's going to hit during that time. But what it does signal as it enters your 11th house is that you're really going to step into your power with your future goals and your future visions for yourself. It might be that you start meeting really influential people that can help get you to an equally powerful and influential place. It might be that you meet a lot of people that are controlling, especially in your friendship group or your network, that try to show their power on top of you or try to control you in some way. Or it could be that you're able to put your head down, work towards your goals, and find a huge motivation and empowerment from seeing that you are being able to make your dreams a reality. So because this conjunction is going to happen together with the Sun, right as they enter Aquarius, it might be quite an eventful day. You can refer back to last year between March and June, so March and June of 2023, to see if there were any themes coming up during that time. There might be a repetition of that around this day. On January 23rd, Venus leaves your 9th house and enters your 10th house. So now you have both Mars and Venus in your 10th house. And it's actually a really nice combination because they can balance each other out a bit. We talked earlier in the month when Mars entered your 10th house that you might have been a little bit more assertive in your career. And now that Venus is entering your 10th house, you might find that that assertiveness is a little bit more balanced and a little bit more considerate of different circumstances and the situations of those around you. You are going to be approaching your career not just with the focus that you want to assert yourself and get your point and your goal across, but also that you want to make it fun while you're at it and that you want to enjoy it while you're at it. On January 25th, there is a full moon in Aquarius in your 11th house. For this full moon, the Sun and Pluto are still quite close to each other. They're about 4 degrees apart. Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius and the Sun at 4 degrees of Aquarius. So that influence of Pluto is still definitely there. The sextile between Saturn and Uranus is still happening during this full moon as well. So that has an influence a bit on the story too. We are still seeing the theme repeating of the hard work that you're doing when it comes to your self-esteem and self-confidence and working on your inner world and your mind. You might be learning some things during this full moon that allow you to understand yourself even better than before. And again, because it's a sextile, it might be easy to miss. So make sure that you are listening during this time because the information that's being revealed might really help you find your power because we are talking about Pluto after all. On January 28th, Mars in your 10th house is squaring the South and the North node. And this is actually quite a big day because also on this day, Uranus goes direct. And we have an interesting aspect happening again between Venus, Saturn, and Uranus. So this was an aspect that happened earlier in the month, but with Mars. Remember, we had Mars in your 10th, Saturn in your 12th, and Uranus in your 2nd. Now it's basically the same aspect, but instead of Mars, we have Venus in his place. So notice if anything happened around January 11th, it might repeat on this day as well. However, because it's with Venus and not with Mars, it might be a little bit less combative and explosive. It might be a little bit more peaceful or easygoing. Mars is squaring the nodes, and the nodes represent where we're supposed to evolve towards, even though it might not be the easiest thing for us to do. So really try to assert yourself during this time and assert your power and make sure that you use your willpower to get yourself going to the place where you want to go, even if it doesn't feel natural and even if it feels like quite a bit of work. Go ahead and do the scary things because the scary things will help get you to become an even better person. We close off the month on January 30th with Mars trining Uranus. So it's still the same houses, 10th and 2nd, that are being highlighted for you. You are learning who you are and feeling comfortable in your own skin, in your own individuality, and in the own way that you show up into the world. And you're also at the same time being courageous in your career. You might find that these two really need each other, need to support each other towards the end of the month. In order to be really courageous and do the scary things in your career, you need to tap into that self-confidence and self-trust in yourself. So overall, Aries, wow, you are going to have a really powerful 20-year period in regards to your network. You're going to meet some amazing people for sure. And January overall is a period where you are focusing on your career, and your career might be really influencing your internal world. You know, sometimes we go through our career and it doesn't have much of an effect on us. But for you in January, it's going to have a big effect on you. it might be that it really requires you to tap into your inner strength, your inner power, your self-confidence, so that you can go ahead and be even better at your career than you could ever be. So I hope this forecast helps you, give you confidence to go ahead and do the scary things this month. Thank you so much for watching, Aries. I hope you have an amazing January. And just to let you know, I do these forecasts every month. So if you enjoyed this one, make sure you subscribe so that you can catch the one for February as well. I hope to see you again soon.